During the 2024 American presidential election, Trump once boasted that after he was elected president of the Americas, once he officially took office, he could solve the Russia-Ukraine conflict in just one day. On November 27th, Trump took the first step, following up on his campaign promise. He nominated retired American Army General Pete Kelly to serve as special envoy for the Russia-Ukraine conflict and as a presidential assistant. Back in June of this year, Kellogg said the following: "We will tell the Ukrainians, you must come to the negotiation table. Otherwise, America's support will run out. I will also tell Russia, if you do not come to the table, we will provide the Ukrainians everything they need on the battlefield." By promoting such a figure, can Trump really achieve the goal of solving the Russia-Ukraine conflict in one day? The answer is obviously no. Everyone knows he is just boasting. To resolve the Russia-Ukraine conflict, the first step is to bring both Russia and Ukraine back to the negotiation table, then invite major world powers and international organizations, such as China, the America, and the EU, to serve as witnesses to the negotiation process and as guarantors of the agreement post-negotiation, so they can all participate in maintaining the peace agreement between Russia and Ukraine. And all of this cannot possibly be achieved in a single day. So I say, Trump is just bragging. Based on the current situation, resolving the Russia-Ukraine conflict is not easy. Let's not mention other factors. The first difficulty is that both sides need to agree to negotiate. That alone is a major challenge. The key to starting negotiations is that both sides must be willing to talk. The key is the willingness of both sides to negotiate. Russia has previously stated that in order for them to sit down for negotiations, the precondition is that Ukraine must unconditionally surrender, and the West must terminate all military aid to Ukraine. In addition, Russia has put forward other demands as well. For example, Ukraine must pledge to never join NATO, to remain permanently neutral, to recognize the independence of the 4 eastern regions of Ukraine, to acknowledge Crimea's sovereignty as part of Russia, to accept Russian as Ukraine's second official language, and to limit the size of Ukraine's military, and so on. To be honest, the conditions Russia has put forward are very difficult for Ukraine to accept. Currently, Russia holds a relative advantage on the battlefield, and its domestic economy is still managing fine. As long as Russia can gain tangible benefits on the battlefield, it is not in urgent need of negotiations. Therefore, its need to negotiate with Ukraine is not very pressing. Of course, negotiations can happen, but in that case, the benefits Russia would want to gain at the negotiation table are likely to be no less than those on the battlefield. As a result, not only would Ukraine be unable to agree, but Eastern European countries, which generally oppose Russia, would also be unable to agree. The Western European countries that have supported Ukraine during the Russia-Ukraine conflict would be even less likely to agree. Moreover, the far-right forces within Ukraine have already stated that any negotiations with Russia must first restore Ukraine's territory to its 1991 borders, the state of Ukraine at the time of independence, and they demand that Russia give up Crimea as well if Ukraine sacrifices territory for peace, then for the so-called peace. Then, even if others might let Mr. Z off the hook, Ukraine's far right will not forgive him. As a superpower, it is easier for the America to pressure to smaller countries, to force them into cease-fire negotiations. This is relatively easy. The Russia-Ukraine conflict, however, is not like that. Russia is undoubtedly a great power, but Ukraine is no small nation either. And furthermore, Ukraine has the backing of Europe and NATO. Trump may want to pressure Russia and Ukraine and force them to negotiate. This possibility cannot be ruled out, but it is unlikely to be significant. After Trump officially takes office, the America might manage to bring them back to the table within 6 months, which would be an achievement in itself. As for reaching an agreement, even in the most optimistic scenario, it might not happen until the end of 2025 before we can see any signs of progress. However, regardless of how the Russia-Ukraine conflict ultimately unfolds, America's international credibility and influence will be significantly reduced, especially among countries worldwide that have been considering aligning with the Americans. No matter how this conflict ends, whatever the outcome, they will all only gain one bitter fruit, the same bitter fruit. That is the words of the late American Secretary of State, Henry Kissinger, who once said, "It is dangerous to be America's enemy, but being America's ally is fatal."